Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Texas. Every time I do a video about your state, I must tell you it is done with a great deal of envy, and this one is going to be no exception. Now, earlier in the week, we did this video right here, which was called The Best Second Amendment News You're Going to Hear All Week. And it was about President Biden actually appointing Vice President Kamala Harris to be the point person on gun control. Really good news. But I got to tell you, the news that came out of Texas this week is probably every bit as good, if not even better. And it really kind of furthers the statement that we've been pounding away at on this channel for a long time. So today, I want to get everyone all up to speed on what I think is a very positive development out of the great state of Texas. So today, let's spend a few minutes and talk about Texas, a state willing to do whatever is necessary to protect its children. Okay, so what we are talking about today is Texas House Bill 3. And what is Texas House Bill 3? Well, Texas House Bill 3 is the first plan that we've seen ever at Washington Gun Law that is actually going to really make our schools safer. Now, we know we have had a horrific problem with mass shootings. We know we've had a horrific problem with mass shootings occurring at schools. And one of the reasons that many surmise that schools are selected as targets is because they are typically gun-free zones, or what we like to call soft targets. It is much easier to shoot up a place when there is no armed resistance on the other side. That has led this channel in particular to pound away at a message, and the message is a very simple one, which is we need to arm the schools. We need to secure the schools. Now, every time there's a big school shooting, people on polar extremes of the issues come out. Those on the left will scream that the whole problem is the guns, the guns, the guns, and if we just got rid of the guns, suddenly we would not have violence in our school anymore. Now, that is based upon the premise, of course, that guns just go in and shoot up places all by themselves. But even if they were correct, and the problem really was the guns, and you abolish the Second Amendment, okay, how many hundreds of years is it going to take you to gather up all of the firearms in this country, especially from the criminal element? So even if we accept that as true in arguendo, we are 100 to 150 years out for that being a viable solution. Now, the people on the other side of the aisle will immediately scream that this is all about mental health. And I have a tendency to actually agree with that issue because I believe that sane people do not walk into schools and shoot children or anybody for that matter, okay? But here's the problem there. Is that, yeah, we've made a lot of advancements in mental health in this country, but we got a long way to go. And so how far are we from being able to detect and effectively treat this pre-terrifying incident from a mental health standpoint in this country? And the answer to that question is we're probably at least 100, 150 years away from that as well. So if you take the people who argue every time there's a school shooting as to we should adopt their solutions are still at least 1 to 2 centuries away from solving the problem. And so what we've preached at Washington Gun Law all the time is that we ought to take a look at the September 12th model. What's the September 12th model? Well, on September 11th of 2001, we had hijackers hijack 4 planes and run them into buildings in the ground and kill thousands and thousands of innocent Americans. We shut the airspace down for about 3 days. The minute we reopened the airspace, well, there was no way that anybody was ever going to hijack a plane in the United States again. That's because we created the TSA. We absolutely secured all of our airports. And to this date, there has not been a single hijacking incident to occur post 9/11. Now, that is all of domestic air travel that was handled in approximately 72 hours. Yet every time we have a school shooting, we never talk about securing the schools the same way that we talked about securing our airports and our airspace. So I have always preached that one of the best ways to reduce or eliminate school shootings is to have armed defense on these campuses, okay? And what I'm happy to report today with House Bill 3, which was signed into legislation by Governor Greg Abbott, is that the state of Texas has now passed legislation that will mandate and fund armed security in all schools. Now, I've had an opportunity to read all of House Bill 3 in its entirety, and it's a large educational legislative package, but the part that relates to armed security is a new section which is added to the statute which mandates, that's right, mandates armed security. The new law, now enacted in Texas, reads as follows. The Board of Trustees of each school district shall determine the appropriate number of armed security officers for each campus. However, they shall ensure that at least one armed security officer is present during regular school hours at each district campus. Security officer described in this subsection must be 1. A school district peace officer, 2. A school resource officer, 3. A commissioned peace officer employed as security personnel under Section 37.081, 4. A school marshal, or 5. A school district employee who A. has completed school safety training provided by a qualified handgun instructor certified in school safety under Section 411.1901 Government Code, and B. carries a handgun on their person on school premises in accordance with the written regulations or written authorization of the district under Section 46.03 Penal Code. So, this is a fantastic piece of legislation because it does give the school districts some leeway to determine how much armed security is appropriate, but it mandates at a bare minimum that there will be at least one armed security officer on all school campuses. It also sets forth the requirements of who these people must be, the training that they must undergo, and so forth. This is a fantastic piece of legislation. Now, those who are opposing it are actually opposing it because even though the children will not be aware who armed security is, the problem is one of cost, because they are estimating that this is going to cost each school about $100,000 annually. I never thought in my life, when you take a look at how much money school districts waste and all the wasteful spending that occurs in school districts and all government agencies for that matter, that we would actually see school districts complaining about a price tag of $100,000 annually to keep all their students safe. And of course, this legislation comes up with the funding for all of those concerns as well. So once again, it is House Bill 3, passed out of the Texas State Legislature, signed into law by Governor Abbott. To my folks down there in Texas, you guys actually have a state government that is willing to do whatever is necessary to protect your children, and for that, all of you should be proud. Listen, you may have more questions about what's going on in Texas, anything else related to what's going on with our Second Amendment rights around the country. If you do, you should know how to contact Washington Gun Law by now, but if you don't, that's okay, because that information is right down there in the description box. In the meantime, I do want all of you to remember that part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.